Good afternoon, man. Let's try to say how I'm doing today. So we're gonna do a video on an SJW that doesn't like white people cosplaying as other ethnicities. Oh boy, SJWs finally stuck their nose into everything, haven't they? First it was video games, second one was comics, now it's cosplay. Oh boy. So let's see what kind of nonsense this person is spewing today. My electrolytes, roll the intro.
No one is telling you that you can't cosplay a person of color as a white person. They're telling you that you shouldn't.
Oh boy, here we go. Here comes the spinning train. You can cosplay as any character that you want as long as you have respect to that character. As long as you're not doing like blackface or nothing like that, you can cosplay as that character. I don't see why you should be limited. Say, oh, you can't cosplay as this person of color if you're a white person. Like seriously, are you kidding me right now? You should limit them to cosplay as only certain things because of their race. That's just stupid. They should be able to cosplay as anything they want as long as they give respect to that character from the TV show and they like it and appreciate it. Go on right and do it. I'm with you, man. I am with you 100%. As being a brown person myself, I am with you 100%. Go ahead and cosplay as any character that you want. Forget what people are saying. As long as you're not doing blackface and nothing like that, go on and cosplay, my friend. Go and enjoy your Comic Cons or your Geek Cons, whatever you want. Go and enjoy. And forget what people are saying. Oh, it's offensive. Forget that, man. Go ahead and cosplay.
This is a broad conversation that is stemmed from a specific one that has been taking place on the GeekyCon 2018 Facebook group since yesterday.
Okay, then. It must be a deep, intricate conversation where people of different opinions should be allowed in that discussion group. So let's see if people of different opinions were allowed in that discussion group. I bet you $5 that people of different opinions on this topic were not allowed in that Facebook discussion group whatsoever, and they were canceled out. Only the ones that are pushing the narrative are allowed in. I guarantee.
Someone asked if it's okay for white people to cosplay as Hamilton characters, and they were asking if not, why, wanting to hear from all voices, including people of color. Now, this question was met with a ton of white people on the defense saying that you can cosplay as anything if you love the character, as long as you don't do black or brown face.
The person that asked that question was 100% on the point. What I would say is, yes, you can cosplay as Hamilton characters as long as you don't use black or brown face. You can do that. Simple answer. Let's move on. I don't see why it bothers you so much. They say, oh, 100 white people, like we're on the defense, and saying you can cosplay as any character you want as long as you use black or brown face. I don't see the problem with that. That's a legitimate point. And that's a correct point as well. You can. As long as you don't use black or brown face and you respect the character, you can cosplay as Hamilton characters if you want to. That's 100% right on the money. I don't see why you're a little bit butthurt by that. I don't see why. Maybe because it doesn't fit into your narrative, that's why you're a little bit butthurt about it.
And a lot of these white people in this discussion were speaking over the voices of people of color. Whenever a person of color tried to come in and say that they didn't agree, that they found this to be racist or problematic, they just kept explaining themselves and why they thought it was okay.
How do you speak over somebody in a Facebook group discussion? How do you do that? Just keep putting comment after comment after comment? That's not possible in a Facebook group discussion. That's not possible. So, no. Second of all, how dare people explain their position and why they feel this way? How dare they? I don't see why you have a problem with people explaining their position and why they feel this way about a certain topic. In this case, it's about dressing up as Hamilton characters as long as you don't use black or brown face. I don't see why you're getting so butthurt over somebody explaining their position on that topic. I don't see why that bothers you so much. Oh, I see why it bothers you because it doesn't fit into your SJW, victimized, marginalized people of color narrative. That's why it bothers you so much. If it fit your narrative, you would allow it 100%. That's just really silly, to be honest. People should allow any opinions, no matter how different they could be, okay? No matter how different they are, you should allow those opinions and people to explain themselves why they hold that position in the first place.
Now, some people of color in that conversation also thought that it was okay for white people to cosplay as Hamilton characters, but several of them were clearly stating that they were uncomfortable with it.
Time out. He said some people of color were expressing that they agreed with those people, but you're just gonna ignore those that agreed with the dirty white people. You know what I'm saying? You're just gonna ignore that and say no, but several people were uncomfortable with it. You're just gonna ignore the ones that had a rational thought and say, oh no, but these people were uncomfortable with it because it fits my SJW victimized people of color narrative. That is just silly and dishonest. You should allow people to express their opinion, no matter how different they may be, no matter how much it upsets you. You should allow people to express their opinion on the topic. You should not just ignore it because it doesn't fit your narrative. That's being intellectually dishonest and not allowing free speech within a discussion group. It's called a discussion group in the first place. Come on. How are you going to call it a discussion group if you're not allowing discussion to begin with? That's just silly. You should call it a discussion group, parentheses, if it only fits my narrative. That's what you should call it. That's just silly.
At best. Mainly, they were saying that it's harmful for white people to cosplay as non-white characters due to representation issues. Now,
because of representation issues. Are you freaking kidding me? I can name several people of color that have main lead roles. Django, Wally West from The Flash, John Jones from Supergirl. Those are three I named off the top of my head. So what representation issues are you talking about? What representation issues? What are you talking about? Where do you get this representation issue at? Where do you get it?
I'm going to break this down a bit further to explain to you why it's not okay to, one, speak over marginalized voices, and two, to choose to cosplay as a person of color when you're a white person and there are just so many white characters you can cosplay as. Now,
Over marginalized voices? Are you kidding me? Look, no one's speaking over marginalized voices. You're just perpetuating this victim narrative, which I don't like in the first place, and I never liked to begin with. They're not marginalized voices, okay? They're just whiny SJWs saying you can't cosplay if you're a white person. You can't cosplay as a person of color if you're a white person because I find it problematic and racist. They're not marginalized voices, okay? They're just people just whining because they got their feelings hurt because they didn't like somebody cosplaying as a character that they liked, okay? Seriously, they're not marginalized, all right? I need you to stop saying that. They're not marginalized. They're just whiny SGW snowflakes that got their feelings hurt because a white person cosplayed as a person of color and did not do black or brown face whatsoever and was respectful. That is, this is silly that you're perpetuating this victim narrative garbage. It's garbage. So garbage. And it needs to stop.
I know I'm white, and this could be taken as me just being another white girl talking over marginalized voices. However, I'm being an ally in this conversation because the other white people in this conversation will not listen to those marginalized voices.
The white guild is strong in this one. We have large concentrations of white guild in this one. Listen, sweetie, you seem like a genuinely nice person, alright? I'm not gonna be mean to you. But you don't need to be like an ally or nothing like that. You didn't do anything wrong, okay? You don't need to be. Those people are not marginalized. They're just whiny SJW snowflakes, like I said before. They got their feelings hurt because people have a different opinion than them and they dressed up as a character that they liked, alright? Alright? You seem like a genuinely nice person, so I'm not gonna be mean to you, alright?
Saying that what they're doing is wrong. So those of us who are actually listening to marginalized voices just have to keep talking. So that's what I'm doing. And I've spoken to several people of color about this very topic, and I'm here to spread their messages.
Okay.
Specifically to the GeekyCon 2018 group of people, if you find that community and that group a safe space, that is great. However, for it to be a true safe space, we need to remember all of the identities of everyone involved.
Everything needs to be a safe space, okay? Not everything. The term or like safe space is just silly. Safe space is just basically you wrapped in your own little bubble where people agree with you and nobody else challenges you, okay? The idea of a safe space is just silly, to be honest. It's just silly. And it needs not to be, okay? You need to have your ideas challenged. Is it, oh, I need to have my own safe space so my ideas are not challenged? That's just silly. So, the idea of like, oh, we need to have a safe space so other people can oppress us or challenge our ideas is just silly.
I would encourage you to look at the Harry Potter Alliance's positive fandom guidelines to give you a good understanding of how to create a safe space, and I will leave that down in the link below. When a person of color doesn't feel comfortable when you're doing something they consider racist, you're not creating a safe space.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
And you shouldn't feel attacked if you're told that your viewpoint is problematic. This is something that I've learned to do, and you should learn to do as well, because it makes a safe space for everybody.
It is once. Everybody is not you. They're gonna have different opinions on the topic, okay? Say, oh, you should just learn to listen and not have your different opinions. Just stuff those way down inside you. Don't have those different opinions. Just listen and believe. Oh boy, that sounds kind of cultish to me. But anyway, people are gonna have different opinions on the topic. Deal with it. They're gonna have different opinions. Learn to deal with it and learn to embrace the different opinions people have on the topic. Okay? Everybody's not you. They say, oh, I've learned to do this, this, and that. Everybody's not you, all right? Everybody is not you. Okay? People are gonna have different opinions on the topic, all right?
You should listen to those calmly telling you why your opinion or your statement is problematic, and you should take that in and readjust your thoughts or your feelings or your opinions on this matter based on the voices that you're not listening to and that you're taught not to listen to.
To a certain degree, yeah, you should listen to other people's opinions on the topic, but you should learn to take your own advice. So learn to listen, like learn to adjust to those different opinions and say, hey, yeah, maybe this person is right. So you should flip it around and put it for your side, not us. We have no problem with listening. It's just you guys that are like locked in your like bubble and say, no, we won't listen to you because you have a different opinion than us. So learn to take your own advice, okay?
We need to change our behaviors when they're upsetting to other human beings and people in our community. It's really quite simple when you break it down and you stop yourself from being affronted immediately. If we can all listen to each other and have polite discourse when something is offensive, that's how we create safe fan spaces.
We should have polite discourse on a certain topic and like that, and let people with different opinions speak, no matter if it upsets you or not. I have no problem with that. I'm 100% on board with that. But that's the problem where it lies is that you won't listen to other different opinions that are different than your own SJW narrative. You know what I'm saying? That's where the problem lies. If you were only willing to listen to other opinions that are different from your own and that are not from your side and different viewpoints than your own, then yeah, we can have a civil discussion. And that's fine.
This makes everyone better. This makes our community better. We have to listen to marginalized voices because traditionally we haven't. And it just makes these spaces worse for them. And worse for all of us in the end if we're not including everyone.
Yeah, once again, it does make it worse if you don't include everyone, even people with different opinions on the topic. So learn to include everybody, all right? Learn to do that. Is it, oh, we're going to shut down people because they don't agree with our SJW narrative? That's not how you're going to include people. Learn to include people with different opinions on the topic, of things that you're talking about. Learn to do that. But once again, take your own advice, all right?
Now back to cosplay for a minute. I've never personally cosplayed, but I think it's awesome and I love to see the amazing creations that people come up with.
You never cosplayed before. Are you serious? Why are you sticking your nose in something that you don't even know about? Why? Why? That's a big old question. Why are you doing that? That's like me sticking my nose in construction when I have no idea about construction whatsoever. It makes no sense. It makes no sense to stick your nose into something you have no idea what it's all about, okay? Ah, it all makes sense now. And SJW is sticking their nose in where they do not belong and something they don't even know about. It totally makes sense now.
There are a million characters that I could choose to cosplay, but I know to never choose a Hamilton character because it's not for me. I can love Hamilton, I can sing along to the soundtrack in my car, and I can talk about how amazing it is. But I cannot dress up as Angelica Schuyler, even if I wanted to.
You can cosplay as it, just don't do a brown face. It's alright for you to cosplay it. I won't tell anyone. You can cosplay as that just fine. I don't care. Like I said, me as a brown person, you can cosplay as that. I'm on board with you 100%. I don't care. As long as you don't do the brown face, I'm good with you. All right. So go ahead and cosplay as that. I have no problem. If you guys want to cosplay as like Hamilton characters, just without doing the brown face or whatever, go ahead, man. You have free range to do that. That's why that we have the freedom of speech to do whatever we want and the freedom of choice to do whatever we want in the USA. Okay, you can. And you saying, oh, you shouldn't because like, oh, it's not for me. I get it. Like, you don't want to do it, that's fine. That's you. But that's not everybody, okay? Everybody wants to cosplay as a Hamilton character without doing, like the brown face, okay? If you want to do that, that's fine. No problem whatsoever. And you should allow people to do that. If they're not disrespecting the character, not doing black or brown face, allow them to do it, okay?
Because it's not respectful. That musical was made to lift up voices of people of color, and not my voice, which hasn't been historically stomped upon.
So what you're telling me is that you can't do it because it was meant to lift up the voices of marginalized people, which are just whiny SJWs pretty much. But we've been over that. You say, oh, my history hasn't been stomped on whatsoever. Really? It hasn't been stomped on? How about the barbary slave trade? The Irish were treated just as bad as black people back in the day. And how about the Jews? Their history, all their history was stomped on. So white people, yeah, their history has been stomped on in the past. But that's in the past. You can say, oh, I can't do this because my history hasn't been stomped on in the past. No, that's just silly. And again, those are stains in US history that cannot be washed out. That's fine, whatever. But you cannot use that excuse to say, oh, I can't do this because, some people might bring up the history and guilt me into not doing it. That's just silly, using history to guilt people into not doing something. That was in the past. This is now. We work to rebuild ourselves and move on past that.
And if you don't understand this now, I would be happy to have further discussion down in the comments. If you take issue with anything that I'm saying, I will continue to be an ally and I will continue to fight for marginalized voices, and let's have a discourse about it. I invite you to do that.
I'm willing to have a discourse with you as long as you accept my different opinion that's different from yours. I'm willing to have a discourse with you. That's alright with me.
If you like this video, please click like and subscribe to my channel. I have a lot of discussions about fandom topics like this, so if you want to see more of that, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Thank you. Bye.
What did we learn today? We learned today that you can't cosplay as a person of color if you're a white person because it's problematic. It's really problematic and scary. No, it's not problematic and scary, okay? You can cosplay as a person of color if you're a white person. As long as you don't do black or brown face, that's fine. Go ahead and do that. I'm good with that, man. Go ahead and cosplay, my legends, if you cosplay. Go ahead and do it. You have free reign to do it. So that's gonna be it for me, my legends. My Twitter handle should be right here. I am most active on there. I upload my videos there too. So that's gonna be it for me, my legends. Have a great day, and remember to stay awesome.